4 a.m. in the woods. I was inspired by Washington Carver whenever he gave God glory for all of the inventions, the cool things that he did on earth, to the action of walking in the woods with God every morning at 4 a.m. He gave God glory and said it was godly wisdom that made him come up with all of these things. I have been getting up at 4 a.m. every morning and sharing with you guys. Most mornings without an alarm, God is just waking me up. And this is a chapter by chapter study, and we are in 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel 26. Last chapter, we had a smidge of a conflict between David and this man named Nabal. We see David about to sin, and Nabal's wife comes in and says, hey, you don't want to do that, let God handle it, and shows David some wisdom, and it also helps that she was intelligent and beautiful. Nabal's sinfulness and his rudeness and just how he acts, God just takes justice on him fairly quickly. Like the next day, he has a stroke and dies 10 days later. David found out and decided that he wanted to marry Abigail. I don't blame him. She's beautiful, smart, and has some good discernment. Where's Saul? We didn't see any of Saul in last chapter. Let's see where he's at now. Chapter 26 starts with a title that says, David again spares Saul. Here we go. Then the Ziphites came to Saul at Gibeah, saying, David is hiding on the hill of Hachilah, opposite Jeshimon. So Saul, accompanied by 3,000 of his fit young men of Israel, went immediately to the wilderness of Ziph to search for David there. Clearly, nothing's changed. Poor David has been living in the wilderness and has discovered that Saul is after him again. David and Abishai decide to go to see Saul. It was at the nighttime, and Saul had all his troops sleeping around him in like a circle. He also had a spear in his water canteen right beside his head while he was sleeping. David and Abishai decide to go look at Saul. I'm not really sure why. He doesn't have any plans to harm him though. He says, when they see Saul, Abishai said to David, Today God has delivered your enemy to you. Let me thrust the spear through him into the ground just once. I won't have to strike him twice. But David said to Abishai, Don't destroy him. For who can lift a hand against the Lord's anointed and be innocent? David added. As the Lord lives, the Lord will certainly strike him down. Either his day will come and he will die, or he will go into battle and perish. However, because of the Lord, I will never lift my hand against the Lord's anointed. Instead, take the spear in the water jug by his head and let's go. So they took the spear in the water jug by Saul's head and they went on their way. No one saw them, no one knew, and no one woke up. They all remained asleep because a deep sleep from the Lord came over them. David's on a hill yelling down to the troops, Abner, son of Ner, and even Saul hears. And so there's this dialogue going on, like, of David saying, why are you still chasing me? I'm just a flea. What have I done to you? I've spared your life again, and I was right beside your head. Abner, son of Ner, kind of digs at him a little bit, like, why didn't you protect, Saul, your king, and you deserve to be punished? It is an interesting exchange between these men. Saul recognized David's voice and asked, Is that your voice, my son David? The flipping back and forth, it seems so fake, whatever's happening in Saul. Saul even responded, I have sinned, come back, my son David, I will never harm you again because today you considered my life precious. I have been a fool, I've committed a grave error. Here we have another, what seems to be fake repentance from Saul. And David is still continuing to trust in the Lord's timing on how he will repay Saul and how he will get David out of it. David's been in the wilderness, he's been on foreign land, he's not able to be with his people, and it must be really hard for him. And it can't be easy for Saul either. He has a lot of fear and paranoia. He's living like this nightmare himself, and he doesn't even realize it, and he hasn't surrendered to God. But the difference between David and Saul is a heart difference. You have David struggling in a certain way, but he has God, and God is keeping him, protecting him, covering him, and has plans for him. And then Saul, it's like he's running away from what God has planned for him because he refuses to surrender and he doesn't have peace. David has such respect and reverence for God that he is letting God take out his justice, and he trusts that God will do so. Even if David thinks this is unfair for him to live this way, he is still trusting that God has a plan for his glory and for the good of those who love him. He really truly believes that vengeance is the Lord's. David just keeps God's will above his own. David has no selfish ambition. He doesn't want the throne right away. He isn't rushing God's plan. He is just keeping God first. It's impossible to understand everything that God is doing, but we have to trust in his authority and have respect for the way that he does things. I think this is a good place to check to see if our heart looks a little bit more like Saul or if our heart looks more like David. Are we like David and trusting in the Lord's timing, his will, his vengeance, and serving God? Or are we Saul, fearful, paranoid, prideful, and refusing to surrender? Is our heart focused inward on ourselves, or is our heart focused upwards on God? One thing I notice about our enemy is he doesn't directly try to get you to worship these false gods. Culture and the enemy tries to get you to worship yourself. If we get so wrapped up in worship of ourselves, we get comfortable, we get selfish, prideful, and we don't focus on kingdom things. We need to be, God, your will be done, not God, my will be done. If you just relinquish the throne in your heart and give it to Christ, I'm telling you, most or not, if not all of your problems will be solved. And not solved in a way that you think, solved in a way that Christ's burden is so light compared to what we put on ourselves when we are in the world. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.